Hi everyone, we're out here at the Conneaut Lake Park doing another program for you on My Dog and Me. This is really rather an important program for me because it's going to be talking about the therapy dogs, something that is very, very near and dear to my heart, and we want to make it so everybody here in the community, those that are listening, and those that have maybe heard about the therapy dogs can find out more about it, decide if you want to do it, if you're interested in having a therapy dog, the difference between therapy dogs and service dogs, and then give you an opportunity to meet many of our therapy dogs that are actively involved right now. So we're going to start at the very, very beginning, because before you can talk about a therapy dog, you've got to know the difference, or what is a therapy dog and how does it differ from a service dog. So to make this complete and so we understand it, I called upon my best friend here, Ruth Prest, who knows more about service dogs than anything, and she's going to start explaining that to you. Hey Ruth, what's your experience with service dogs?
I was a volunteer for Canine Partners for Life and worked at the 2 prisons as a volunteer, the 2 local state prisons that raised puppies for them.
And how long did you do that?
12 years.
12 years. Mm-hmm. So you know all about the difference between a service dog and a therapy dog?
Some.
And now we have to talk also, before you even tell us the difference, because we have so many people who try and pass their therapy dogs off as service dogs, and dogs that are just don't have anything at all in common with service dogs or therapy dogs, by getting one of those vests or something online that they can buy probably very inexpensively. So tell us the difference between a service dog and a therapy dog.
People do get confused with the terms. The therapy dogs that you're going to learn more about today are our own pets. They have some obedience training. They're good with people, they're good with other dogs. And they have a little bit of obedience training, so they will listen to us, and they like to be around people. So we get permission ahead of time to take them into different facilities. We go to schools, hospitals, nursing homes, different places. But we have permission ahead of time to do that. And so that's the only places they're allowed to go. They're not to go in public to stores or places that, unless they're pet friendly. Places like Tractor Supply.
Or Home Depot or someplace like that.
Right.
Okay, good.
But service dogs are a sort of a different category. They're really special working dogs. They are bred for temperament. Their training starts basically when they're born. They're trained to focus on their person that is handling them and to not look at distractions. Service dogs are trained to do specifics. I keep looking at mine because he's a retired service dog.
And we're going to introduce him in a few moments.
Right. They're trained to do specific skills that help a person that they're working with, who is usually a person with disability. But it can be a lot of different kinds of disabilities. It might be someone who's in a wheelchair, and the dog helps them transfer from the wheelchair to the car or to the couch or whatever. It might be someone who needs things picked up when they drop them because they get dizzy if they lean over. It might be someone that needs their doors opened for them if they're in a wheelchair. Or it might be a person who doesn't look disabled. You see him on the street and you go, why has he got a dog? He's not disabled. Well, maybe it's a person who has seizures, or a person who has a condition where they pass out when their blood pressure drops. And the dogs know that and can sense that.
The one I was really impressed with, we did a program on one time, there was a lady that came in with the dog. She had a coat on, and you or she directed the dog to help her take the coat off. And that dog, I'll never forget this. First of all, he took there was a tag on the zipper, and he pulled the zipper all the way down. Then after he did that, he went over and he grabbed onto her sleeve and started pulling on the sleeve so she could get her arm out of the sleeve. On the other side, and then she explained that he also helped her, I think, sort wash or something.
Right.
And he would do the sorting. That she had different piles and stuff like that. And wasn't it also recycling?
Yes.
Or cans and
recycling,
that stuff? So it taught a lot of things like that.
Right. The service dogs are protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act. So they are permitted to go into all public places wherever their person goes. And it's not the dog's right to be there. It's the person's right to have the dog. Because if they didn't have the dog, somebody would need to be with them to do the things for them that the dog does. So that's basically the difference, is that service dogs are trained for specific skills. And there's another category called emotional support dogs that are often placed with autistic children or elderly people that just need companionship, or they need support, some emotional support.
Could that be with someone who has PTSD?
It could be, but they could also be a service dog if they're trained.
Okay.
The emotional support dogs mainly function in the home of the person, and they don't have the legal right to be in public places because they don't have the training.
But of course, they try and pass them off like that.
Right. And there are some airlines that will allow you to take them on board, but you need to check because a lot of those policies have recently changed. And there are some housing laws that allow them to be in a no pets place. But again, you need to check with the facility.
Let's take a second. Let's introduce him.
Mr. Clean. This is McLean.
Can we get him to turn around so they can see?
You. He's the Labradoodle. He's 10 years old. He worked with a woman who was blind and had MS, so he was doing double duty as a service dog, but he wasn't, her children were being very distracting and annoying to him, and the trainer tried to work through the problem, but it didn't work. So he was raised at the Albion prison, so I knew him when he was a baby, and when they said he was released, I said, I want him.
You took him.
I want him.
Correct.
And he's a great dog.
How long have you had him?
About 5 years.
Oh, wow. Good, good. All right, so now we've talked about the difference between a therapy dog and a service dog. Next on the list, because you were one of the first ones ever to start Paws Hand Delivered, which is our local therapy dog group, PhD, Paws Hand Delivered. Tell us how it got started or who was in on that.
Robin Peterson and Jan Furtwängler were doing visits with their dogs, were the first people that I knew that were doing that. And in 1995, I got involved because my mother was in the hospital and was sick, and then she passed away. And I thought, well, that's something I can do for moms. I can go visit people. And so it was kind of informal at that point, but as it got more people involved and got more organized, that's when we picked up the name Paws Hand Delivered.
As you know, I'm one of the testers for the Alliance of Therapy Dogs, and I can tell you almost immediately whenever I meet a dog whether that dog is going to make it as a Paws Hand Delivered or as a therapy dog. It's just so obvious. Interesting story, you brought up Robin Peterson, and I was taking a class from Jan Furtwängler at the time, and I had my 15-year-old that I put down in July in that class, Martin. So we're there and we're walking around, and all of a sudden Robin came up to me and she said, he has to be a therapy dog. Now 15 years ago I was like brain dead, I didn't even know what that meant. So I said, well, what's a therapy dog? I said, he's just a mutt, and he was a mutt. He was a some of this, some of that, he was a mixture of all kind of things. She said, no, Sue, I'm telling you, that dog's gonna be a wonderful therapy dog. And I said, come on. And I said, all right, tell me what I have to do. And then we started with a little bit of the obedience, and he became a very, very well-known therapy dog in the area. As a matter of fact, he was one of, when we started at the Cancer Center, and you were at that original meeting when they decided to put therapy dogs there, then when we started, Martin was one of the originals, and he was one of the last ones that has passed away. So we know that the therapy dogs are very, very important, and there's been quite a history with Paws Hand Delivered. Now the way we have to do this, we've got to keep switching people. So I'm going to bring somebody else in who's going to tell us all about the goals of Paws Hand Delivered, but you will be back. You're on call. Here we go.
Good morning.
This is one of my favorite, newer How long has Mr. Parker been a therapy dog?
Well, he's 4 years old, and he started as soon as he became eligible at 1 year, basically. So he's been working about 3 years as a ATD PhD dog.
And I passed him. Why did I do that?
Because he probably loved you to death.
He did. Mr. Parker, can you
right
look
now,
up here at
he's more
all?
interested in seeing who's been here before.
Well, yes, and he's checking that out. Tell us, why Paws Hand Delivered? What do they do for these people?
Well, basically, Paws Hand Delivered is whatever people might want them to do in the sense of making it a little more comfortable living, perhaps, a little relaxation, maybe lower blood pressure. Mr. Parker here, it's Mr. Parker formerly, but normally it's Parker, unless he's been bad.
Oh, okay.
In which case, Parker.
There we got him. There we go. Well, that's okay. He could. There he goes.
And he normally would work with a library. He had a trainer, another dog, Bailey, who was started very early in the program, who unfortunately crossed the Rainbow Bridge last year. But he just fell into it naturally because he's a people lover. What do
we find when we go to the nursing homes? Why do those people, the nursing homes, like the dogs so much?
Well, a lot of times it brings them back to dogs that they may have had, that they, for whatever reason, can't have at the nursing home anymore. It brings back little memories. They like the petting, they like the attention from the dog.
Paws Hand Delivered is very, very popular in Westbury and various others of the nursing homes where we go, because the people have given up their dog, as Joe just said, whenever they went into these facilities, so they really like that. So we give support. We have a line, I think, and I can't right now remember exactly what the wording is for it, but we put smiles on the faces of those people that haven't had contact with a dog for a long time. And that happens.
I know.
And sometimes they say, oh, I had one of them whenever I was growing up. And if you want to get a person in a nursing home to talk to you real fast, just merely say, what kind of a dog did you have? What was the dog's name? And then they go on and on about their history with the dog. So they love the attention they get from the dogs.
One of the best things was this summer after this COVID hit the system and we were basically shut down from all the normal visits. They did a walk around a couple of the rest homes, you know, the Crawford Center and the other places. And just to look at the people inside the building, looking at the dogs as they walk by through the window, the smiles, the waves.
And the tears too, remembering the dog they had once had. And of course, Mr. Parker's very good at that.
Yeah, well, he likes people. He loves the attention of people.
Well, yes.
As you know, you've been mugged the first time you met him.
Yes, you're mugged as soon as you talk to Mr. Parker. Okay, thanks very much. Let's talk about a few more things that you need to know about. First of all, in our group right now, we have 39 dogs that are a part of Paws Hand Delivered. Second of all, there are 32 handlers because you are a team. So, in other words, I cannot take Mr. Parker and take him on a visit unless I have been trained with him or have spent time with him. So if you don't have a dog and you want to have a therapy dog and you know somebody that does have a therapy dog, you could make arrangements to have a relationship with that dog, and then you would be a team with that dog. So if I wanted Mr. Parker, I'd have to go down to Joe's house, spend time with him, and then he could be my therapy dog. We would be a team. So there are that many teams. We have the 32 teams, and we also have 4 people right now that are presently in the process of going through the qualifications to become a therapy dog. When Armstrong, after we send him away today and we tell him all the things we want him to add to this program, one of the things that's on the Bark Park Facebook page, it's not on the Facebook page, it's on the website because Joe does that.
I take care of the website, you know, push the...
Right, and you took pictures.
Give them the address or the URL.
Right, it's www.conneautlakeparkpark.com, but Joe came down and took pictures during our last testing, so that gives you some information about that. Okay, Joe, that's what I need from you.
In regards to people, husband and wife teams can test each one individually, because both myself and Rita
Good point.
Work with
Good
Parker,
point.
or before one of us would take Bailey and the other would take Parker.
Correct.
To the library, and everybody got a good time out of it.
Okay,
So,
I'm going to leave you and I'm going to get somebody else up here. Who else wants to answer some questions for me? Anybody? Ruth, are you coming up here? Here we go. We have to have this one come up because one of the things that the people in the nursing facilities like is whenever we've got some crazy, crazy people that dress up your dog. So introduce yourself and introduce the dog.
My name is Roxanne Harp, and this is my 12-year-old dog, Owie. And the therapy, he loves it, and it's fun. And we get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
I don't know whether you can see this, but he has a pair of handcuffs around his neck. So he's all ready for anything that's coming along. And I particularly like Owie because I have a collie also.
That's how I found you.
I know, that's how we first met each other. I had Danny over at the park, I think, at a pumpkin fest.
Yeah.
And that's how we got Owie kind of involved in that. Do you remember what we did during the testing?
He had to walk past other dogs.
Correct.
Without barking or looking away.
Or taking their heads off or trying to go after them.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
And he had to walk past people with walkers and wheelchairs so they didn't frighten the dog. And he just loves people, and he didn't pay any attention to that. He just goes for the people. One
of the things we laugh about is if you have a dog, it generally happens with retrievers. And some of the people in the nursing homes, you know, have tennis balls on the end of their walkers. And what happens, a person in the nursing home is walking past with the tennis balls in the bottom of the walker. And we had one dog that was in our group that just would go crazy to get to those tennis balls. So it's just, I mean, it was kind of humorous to see him get into that. And then we have the total evaluation. Let me thank you very much, and I'll talk a little bit more about what else we're going to do here. Take him with you. I like his outfit.
Thank you.
Yes. Bonnie, you're going to come up and say something? Bonnie's coming up because Bonnie has become my right hand as far as doing some of the testing for therapy dog work. We have been doing the therapy dog work. Robin Peterson and I have been testers for quite a long time, but she was my captain. I was a mere lieutenant. So I let her be in charge of everything, but then she decided that she was no longer going to have a therapy dog. She was going to have a dog that would run after dead ducks in the water and go in the water. So that's her thing now. So now I've got Bonnie helping me until we can decide what more we want to do with the therapy dogs. Talk us just a little bit about Rocky.
Rocky's a 5-year-old golden retriever. And as you can see, he's awfully, awfully friendly, and his number one priority is just to be petted. We visit Westbury, we visit Allegheny College, we visit Park Avenue Rehab, or whatever they're calling it these days. We visit New Beginnings and any place else that requests the therapy dogs.
What is really important, and she has listed some places, some dogs do better in certain places. You can have a dog that really does well with older people. You can have a dog that does best with children. I have a collie like the one that was just up here, and if I take him to Westbury, it doesn't work. Because what he wants to do as soon as he gets to a facility is he wants to lay down and sleep. A big joke on this has been when we've gone to Meadville Medical Center, and we're up on the second floor, very, very busy, people walking past, and he will lay right in the middle of the floor. I've even seen doctors step over him. If we go to the child care, he falls asleep. He's sound asleep and the kids are all over him at the time. We have other dogs that are very, very good with the older people. I have a small dog that's a therapy dog, and he's very good because I can put him on the bed and people can have him on the bed whenever we're visiting. So that's an example of some of the things that we do as far as the therapy dogs are involved. Thank you. One other thing you need to understand is your liability. If you have a dog that's visiting your elder relative in the hospital or in the nursing home, and you take your dog in there, and your dog would happen to be walking along and somebody in the facility trips on the leash. Let's keep it simple. They trip on the leash. What happens? It's your homeowners. That's the most important thing you can ever learn about the reason to have a therapy dog and having one certified. You want to make sure that the dog is certified or has liability coverage. Our dogs are all insured for $500,000 whenever they are in a facility. From the time they step out of the car until they step back into that car, those dogs are insured. And that's actually very, very important for you to be aware of, and that's something that we talk about an awful lot. Anybody else want to say something right now? Okay, here comes BJ. She's going to tell you a little bit about her dog, and this is the smaller type dog. We're going to talk about the different sizes that we have in our group. And Tika's all dressed up also. Do you want to pick her up or so everybody can see her? Okay. And introduce yourself and the dog.
Hi, I'm VJ Murray, and this is Tika. She's a Maltese, derivative from Malta. And she not only is a therapy dog, but she loves to do tricks, which really comes in handy for the attention of little children. The reason why I wanted Tika to become a therapy dog is because the two neighbor ladies, she'd always want to go visit and run up on their porch and sit with them, and now they are in homes. So it's wonderful that they have a little piece of home to come visit with them.
Very good, and this is another example of one that you can put on a bed, things like this. Now, if Tika was the type that if I took Tika and tried to pick her up and hold her, forget it, this is going to be a failure as far as therapy dogs are concerned. We had a dog one time that was another one of our Yorkies, not the Yorkie you're going to see here, but another one of the Yorkies that we had. No, it wasn't a Yorkie, it was a Dachshund. And as soon as somebody went to pick up the dog was just like, thinking, I wonder how soon I can bite that person's hand. So that dog eventually got out of the program. It just doesn't work very well. But a dog like this that you can pick up and hold and stuff like that is what the people want to do, especially in the nursing facilities. Let me talk to you a little bit, thanks BJ, about some of the places that we visit. We're very, very involved with Crawford Central School District. We do an awful lot of work at Crawford Central as far as going to the elementary school and to West End, and we were doing a program at the high school and also in the summer. Who knows where that is right now as far as COVID. We also do a lot of work at the libraries. We've been, and yell at me if I give the wrong libraries, but we do Lionsville, we do Meadville Medical Center, or Meadville Library. We do where? Conneaut Lake. Conneaut Lake, I have a peanut gallery here that's helping me with this. Where else do we do as far as library? Is that it? Cambridge Springs, there's a big program there, and we have programs there. Again, we don't just walk in and say, okay, here I am with my dog. Okay, aren't you glad I'm here? No. That's not how this works. You have to be, and remember, Ruth said this, you have to be invited to go into these places. Now, Sherry's going to come next, and she's going to tell you about her relationship with this little devil Yorkie, because Sherry's mother, and she's not going to mind me telling you this, was in Westbury. So talk about how much this one went to Westbury and how popular this dog has been.
My name is Sherry Spangler, and this is my dog Happy. He is a Yorkshire Terrier, a very large Yorkshire Terrier. Sue calls him a twit.
He is. He's crazy. He's cute
She
as
saw
heck.
him and thought he would be a good therapy dog. I did not agree, but I'm glad that I went ahead and did this. I was a nurse for 30 years, and when I retired, I found that I missed being around patients a lot. So we go to TCU. That's one of our favorite visits, the Transitional Care Unit into Westbury. And the looks on their faces when we come is what makes it all worthwhile.
Now, was he able to go to Westbury when your mom was there? Mm-hmm. And that was popular with all the other people, too.
And my mom felt like a VIP because this was her dog.
Yes,
she said,
yes.
That's my daughter. And
What kind of a dog did she have?
She had a yellow lab.
A yellow lab, and if you went in, Micah, and every time you went in, you had to hear more stories about Micah and how Micah did and stuff like that.
But we love doing this. Happy loves doing it. He's a very social dog, wants to chatter a lot.
How old is he?
But he's now 7.
Oh, wow. And you have another one.
Yeah, I have a little rescue.
And what about the rescue? Is the rescue going to make it as a therapy
He's
dog?
not going to be able to because he has a collapsing trachea that makes it, when he gets in different situations, he gets anxious and that exacerbates the condition.
So you're going to have to get another one.
Someday.
Another Yorkie.
Someday.
Okay, well that's good. So that's an example of some of the work and some of the reactions we see at the nursing homes, which is so very, very important. A favorite place that I've gone for a long time has been the Cancer Center. I really have enjoyed going there. A little side comment, when Martin, the one who was one of the first ones at the Cancer Center, had his 15th birthday on July 25th. And on that date, I received a beautiful card signed by almost everybody at the Cancer Center saying something about Martin because they liked him there so much. And he was a favorite there because he had been there so long. That was his place to go. So we also go to the Cancer Center, and boy, are we anxious to get back to the Cancer Center and Meadville Medical Center and some of the other places. Okay, bring this other one over here. Who do we have here? You have to introduce yourself in case I forgot your name. Of course I didn't, but pick up this one. You can pick him up. You want to pick him up? Who is this?
This is Archie, and I'm Candy Brand, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for her.
Why'd that happen? I'm sorry, did I see you at the Conneaut Lake Veterinary Hospital?
Either that or when I was renting the house.
Oh, yes, and I ran into him and I said, you know what? It's worked well for you. You've liked it.
Oh, yes. We've visited on a lot of the places that have already been talked about.
Tell us about the Cancer Center, because that's where you were really big at it.
This is where we ended up being the place that he really felt like he was happy. Mm-hmm. He would always visit all of the staff first as we entered. And he became really close to some of the patients. We would go once a week, and some of the patients would visit on the same day, or they'd be there. And he chose certain people that he seemed to think needed him. And he would watch for them and look for them when we came.
And of course, one of the downsides about going to the Cancer Center is, unfortunately, we lose a lot of our clients or people that we deal with there. And that's been, I know, we've talked about this several times, that's hard for many of us whenever we're looking at the Tribune or any one of the local newspapers and find the names or the pictures of somebody that we've been visiting with a lot. And some of the ones, dogs that just had a fantastic relationship with these people. How many years did you visit at the Cancer Center?
I think it's been 4.
4 years?
Maybe 5.
4 or 5 years. Yeah, he's a cutie. I talk a lot about it. And you live in Conneaut Lake, so you walk the streets of Conneaut Lake. You're not a street walker, though. I mean, not something like that.
No.
Okay, good. But I know a lot of people know about him because I was down at Ralston's, and then I met with someone else who used to be involved with hospice, and I mentioned your name, and she said, oh, I know Candy. She has Archie, and everybody knows Archie is also being involved in being a therapy dog, so that has worked out real well for him also. Okay, we'll talk about something else. Stay there for one more minute and say something else about Archie, because I want to get something off of a chair here while you're talking. Tell us all about him. What kind is he?
I rescued him when he was a year old. We lived in Ohio. He came just as calm, and my daughter Wendy is his, Dr. Wade is his veterinarian, and she said, I need to do blood work on this dog. He's not normal. And he's normal. That's just the way he is.
He is. He's a cutie. He's, as I said, he's very, very well liked. Okay, I'll get somebody else up here in a minute, but let me show you here some of the things that you have to wear. Everybody has one of these on. Most people here have one on. These are our Paws hand-delivered lanyards that we had made several years ago. So she has one on, and I have one on now too. If you go to Meadville Medical Center, then they're not satisfied with just our lanyard.
Yeah.
They turn around and they make you put on another lanyard that says that you are part of Meadville Medical Center as far as visiting. The dog has something special. Archie has his on. This is one that belongs to my collie. This is our symbol for the Alliance of Therapy Dogs, so they've got this on. The other thing that everybody that's a therapy dog, we like you to have them on a 4-foot leash, no longer, because you have to keep that dog beside you all the time, and you're not allowed to let that dog interact with other dogs that you're with at the facility. So the 4-foot leash works. In my pocket, someone loaned this to me a minute ago. See if I have it. Every one of the dogs also gets a little red heart that says they are a therapy dog, and that's kind of important, so they wear that too.
Yes.
And see, Archie has his on too. So that's part of the identification. A lot of us have shirts on that say Paws Hand Delivered. Some of us have a vest on, different things like that, because identification is important. We're just not some person walking down the street with their dog and says, gee, I think I'll go into Meadville Medical Center today and see if I can take my dog in. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to be associated with a group. Now, dogs can be all sizes. We were supposed to have with us today Mike Dixon from the funeral home in Cockerton, because dogs can be all different sizes. They can be all different breeds. There's no stipulation as to what breed they are or whatever. Kathy, introduce yourself and introduce Molly.
Hi, I'm Kathy Maloney, and this is Molly. She's a blue Merle Pomeranian. I found her out in Nevada. She was given to me with her papers. Her original owners had bought her at the kennel, dropped her off with friends, and then they never came back.
Oh, wow. And how old is she?
She's 9, but she'll be 10 August 1st.
Okay.
And she's been a therapy dog now 3 years.
And where does she usually visit?
Well, she was going to Juniper Village on a regular basis. My brother was at Westbury. And she would go there, and she would just lie on the bed next to him. And also, she really enjoyed the public library. Little kids reading the books. She actually will watch the pages turn.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I have it on video.
Okay, all right,
you can
because
see her
that, you know.
face. She's going like this. So, she loves this organization. You just put the jacket on her, and she gets a whole different demeanor.
They're funny about that. A lot of us have found that with our dogs. As soon as we dress them up for therapy dog work, they seem to know that's what they're doing. The other thing, thanks, Kat. The other thing we want to talk a little bit about, we've talked about the dogs and the certifications of the dogs. Well, guess what? We've got to go through certifications too. Not only do we have to be a good handler of our dog, but we have to get clearances. Again, I can't just walk down the street and say, gee, I'm going to Meadville Medical Center today. You've got to have a background check. You've got to be fingerprinted to a lot of these organizations. All the organizations, the Alliance of Therapy Dogs, require certain clearances, and all that has to be in place before you can even go through the initial testing. So the initial testing is done about 4 times a year. You can see it on the news or wherever. It talks about the therapy dog testing being done. We test them for about 15 minutes just to see how they do in general. And then you will meet with me on 3 separate occasions at 3 facilities. Recently, I've been using Lakeview Ford because they have a lot of people in the service department waiting to pick up their cars, so the dogs go in there to visit. We've gone to Home Instead Senior Care, a real big supporter of the therapy dogs, so sometimes we go in there too. So they've got to pass 3 evaluations at that point, and then once they pass that, then they become a certified therapy dog. And you have to renew that every year. Someone says, what do I pay you for testing them? I wish you could pay me $1 million, but that isn't the way it works. We are all volunteers. All of us are volunteers. And therefore, our time with the patients and in the testing program and all that is done by volunteers. And it gives you an opportunity to really give of yourself and be involved with your dog. Who hasn't been up here yet? We need to. Rita hasn't been up here. No, well, we don't have you, Rita. I have to get a hold of her too. I have to explain how I know Rita so well. Behind me, you can see the doghouse, part of the doghouse behind the signs. And the doghouse is the area that we're standing in right now is one of our play areas for the dogs. And when I have a dog that's in the kennel and I need someone to come up and be in charge, I call Mr. Parker. I've got to tell a funny story about him. He loves to play with all the puppies until they step out of line. And then he just gives them a quick little correction and says, no, this isn't something we're doing today. And then he's really good with them. So tell us more about Mr. Parker in case they've forgotten what Joe said. And where do you basically take him?
We basically go to the Meadville Library and the Linesville Library, and he'll sit there and the children will come up and read to him. And the kids just like to put their arm around him sometimes while they're reading, or sit real close to him and just read. Even if they can't read, they'll look at the pictures, they'll tell Parker about the pictures, or they'll make up their own stories. And so they just like being with the dog. Some of the children have never been around dogs, they're afraid of dogs, and as we come every week, they recognize the dogs and then they're not afraid anymore. They'll come a little closer, and before you know it, they love the dogs. So
we find that to be true. We also go to the Conneaut Lake Child Care, one of my favorite places to go. And as I said before, that's where Danny goes, and he sleeps through the whole visit. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Danny's known for sleeping wherever he goes.
We also go to Women's Services.
Oh, that's right, you
same
do.
Thing.
No, wait, aren't you also going to get involved with, what's the shelter for men? St.
James.
St. James. I think we're going to start trying to go there.
Yeah, we were going to start to do that.
Right, that's one of the places. Now, if you want a therapy dog to come to your facility, I just talked to somebody who works at a group home. And she said, how do I get a therapy dog? I said, well, first of all, you tell me what you need, and then I see if I can get someone for you. So that's always an option like that, too, is to go to one of the group homes and do something with them. And I think we might start going to the child care place that's on the Allegheny campus. Mm-hmm. We also, have you gone to the college with us at all?
No, we haven't done
Okay,
that.
well, that's one of the other places we sometimes go. We go to Allegheny College whenever they're having a tough day or whenever they're just before finals or anything like that. Yeah. Okay, who else?
You might want to talk about what they need as far as vets, their
Let's
shots
talk
and that
about
kind of
it.
thing.
No, I'm not talking about it. Get back here. You talk about it. What do they have to have?
Well, you have to make sure that your dog has all its vaccinations, keep up with the fecal, make sure their fecals are negative, and make sure their shots are up to date.
And
that's really important.
And heartworm.
Heartworm, yes.
And
your Portadella.
Portadella, that's kind of an option with it, but the heartworm's one. Flea protection.
Right.
A lot of people use the flea protection where we put the drops down the dog's back. Why don't we do that with therapy dogs?
Because the children are handling them, the patients are handling them, and they might have some kind of a reaction to that particular drug.
What we're going to start doing now whenever we start visiting is we're going to change it up a little bit, because after the dog, we're going to ask the people that are visiting with the dog to use some sanitizer on their hands. Right. And then whenever we're all done, I just found a new product that we can try and get people to use that will just wipe the dog down very, very quickly, just to make sure we're not transferring anything like that. Mm-hmm. Has everybody said something? Bonnie, who hasn't? Does anybody want to add anything? Tell me what I have forgotten to say. Lynn, you're my assistant over there. She's helping me today. She's just there with her. Will he come up here with me? Will Bailey come up?
No, Bailey. Come on, Bailey.
We have another dog that you probably are not that familiar with, and he's real popular because not too many people have ever seen one like this. Burlington Terrier. Bedlington. See, I got it messed up. Bedlington Terrier. Come here, Bailey. Turn around just a little bit. Can you turn around just a little bit so they can see you? Some people refer to him almost looking like a lamb. Can you get that? Or we have to move out this way just a little bit. And he's owned by Lynn Cullen. And where does he usually go, Lynn?
The Cancer Center and Mego Medical Center.
That's the two main places. Okay, come on. Oh, he's getting like Bailey. He's interested in what else is going on here. Okay, I'm going to turn to my peanut gallery now while you're taking a picture of Bailey. What am I forgetting? What do you want these people to know?
How fun it is.
Oh, Bonnie says how much fun it is. It is a good time. And we also are a good group of people that go a lot of places together. It's best whenever you go with a group. We try and get 4, 5 people to go at a time if the facility can handle that. And whenever we go places, the dogs are very good together. I'm always amazed whenever we take a picture. Honestly, you're not going to believe this. But if I set them all here, in fact, we ought to even try it at the very end. If we set every dog down in a row, Do you know, oh, I hope I'm right on this, there should be no growling or anything because they're so used to being in that setting, and we've got them all sitting close. No one cares, no one's growling, no one's having an issue. Bailey's over there with Mr. Parker, and that's no problem, and the whole thing. So that's really another indication of what we find with our dogs is they're very, very good with other dogs. Bring another dog into here, we may see things change just a little bit. Lynn, what else have I forgotten? What do I need to include?
I think that's it. Oh, talk about dogs who have passed.
We will. What we will talk. We're also going to give to Armstrong a list of all the dogs that have passed. We've had a very, very tough year, just as our state has, and the nation has, and also the community and things like that. We unfortunately have lost 12 therapy dogs in the last year. It's really, really been tough on us. As I said before, we have 32 dogs, or 39 dogs, but we used to have almost over 50. So we're always looking for new people. There are 4 new ones that are going to be added to our group, hopefully within the next week or so. But if you want to do this, if you're really seriously thinking about it, give us a second and take the time to check with us at the Bark Park. That's one of the other reasons we're here. The Bark Park's kind of the home base for the therapy dogs. So if you want to know about the therapy dogs, you can contact us at the Bark Park and we'll get you all set up. Anybody else have anything to add? No? Kathy has something. Can you slide over? Pardon me?
The parades we had during the pandemic.
Oh, okay. One of the things we did, because we couldn't go inside during the facilities, we did outside parades. It was actually quite interesting. We would go to places such as Westbury and places like that and walk around the outside so that people could see us. We did it at the Crawford County Care. We didn't do it at Juniper, I don't think, did we? Juniper, Crawford County Care. Aristocare, no, is it called Aristocare now? It's the one that used to be the old Meadville Rehab. But there's places like that we've gone. So if you want to be involved in a program, or if you're involved with some group and would like to have a program about the therapy dogs at your community activity or a community group that you're involved with, make sure you contact us at the Bark Park. We will make arrangements to bring some dogs over to meet everybody that's there. Anything else we need to add? Okay, thanks very, very much for coming, and my people that are here, and also for all of you that have had an opportunity to meet some of the therapy dogs in our Paws Hand Delivered. Again, our parent organization is the Alliance of Therapy Dogs, and thanks very much, and I hope you enjoyed the program.
Woo!